The number one way to reduce property values as a property manager or investor is to deal with a pest infestation problem. Therefore, naturally, in order to maintain investment and secure maximum potential of a property, it's important to remember to do everything you can to be a proactive property manager or investor to get this problem under control before it persists. My friends, pests can dramatically reduce the income and value a property can produce. Termites are known as the silent killer and destroyers of property. They are the most common cause of structural integrity issues and can often cause problems before the issue is even detected, according to my friends at NYU. Meanwhile, according to my friends over at Ibis World, the pest control industry is growing rapidly. As of 2023, there were a total of 1,364 pest control businesses all across Canada, which has grown at a compound annual growth rate of 1.4% since 2018. Now that I've given you that statistical piece of pie within that 5-year time period, I want to introduce you to my French-Canadian friend, Christian Gilbert. He's the founder and chief operating officer of We Clean Pest Control. He's a real estate investor by trade turned entrepreneur who started his business because he was a real estate investor with a pest control problem in his properties, and he was unable to locate and secure a suitable solution to address the problem. His passion lies in helping the property managers and investors avoid the problems that he experienced, helping them to reduce the cost of dealing with pests in half. My friends, he's run his business for a total of 12 years, and he wanted to stop by the program today to provide strategies to win as a property manager or investor when it comes to adequately dealing with your pest control infestation problems once they arise, and how to elevate the property values of your property and improve the relationships with your business partners and tenants all at the same time. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. You know, Chris, I know that you started your business because you're a real estate investor that had a pest control problem, my friend. So tell me about why you started the business and how it's provided you with fulfillment, my friend.
Okay. So pretty much I was a real estate investor in 2012, and I had dreamed to be financially free so I can have more time to pursue things that are important. And then the very first property that I bought had like a recurring problem of bed bugs, and it was pretty much killing all the cash flow, all the income of the building, and the building was even forced to sell after 3 years because there were no more money in the building itself. So pretty much I learned at that point that like pest issues can be a serious challenge if someone purchase a property with that problem. So then I started my own pest control business to solve and cut the cost of pest control for real estate investor by half. So it brought me to focus on this for the last 10 years. And after 10 years, now I'm finally bringing back this experience to the world of real estate by having investor learning about what I learned in those last 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, you brought up the concept of financial freedom. So tell me, how do you define the term financial freedom, and how do you think others can achieve the same, my friend?
Yeah, it's a good question. So financial freedom, it's really about having time, more time than money to pursue the activity that are important for you. So if you want, for example, to pursue activity to help others or more philanthropic, sometimes you need more time than money. So financial freedom gives you that.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And I know that you're passionate about teaching property managers how to sort of reduce their costs and keep their pest infestation problem under control and avoid the problems that can help to reduce the property values, my friend. So tell me, what do investors and property managers need to know about the importance of really taking care of the pest infestation problem when it arises, my friend? What do you think people need to know?
Well, so what they need to know is that sometimes the costs related to pest issues are not just the cost of the treatment. It's also the impact it can have on the vacancies. So that means some people will just decide to not continue to rent anymore. So that will cause like loss of income that is more important than the cost of the pest control itself. So what they need to know is to solve a problem without expensive costs, we want to work on prevention and the source of the problem. Example, if you have a property with mice issues, very often it's because there's gap around the building, around the exterior wall of the building, so that they can come inside. So a lot of pest control company, they will focus on doing treatment inside the units only and not focus on the source, which is the building integrity. Integrity is not okay. And we often like working on the building integrity itself will be cheaper than to work on just trying to treat one unit, which will not resolve the problem at the source because they will constantly coming back from outside to inside. So that's the type of things I'm here to inform, like property manager and investor, on what type of service they should select versus other type of service that are not necessarily in their own financial interest, but maybe more in the financial interest of the pest control company.
Yeah, yeah, and Chris, tell me, what sort of, I guess, how does your type of property determine the type of sort of treatment for pest control that you're going to need? Because, as you just mentioned, different properties require different needs. So how can
Mhm.
property owners sort of determine what sort of service is best for them, my friend?
So definitely treating a house, a single detached house, doesn't have the same challenge as treating a multifamily because the problem in a single detached house is pretty much just um, it's a boxed already. It's already, if you treat the house properly, you will be able to get all of them. Versus multifamily, bugs are able to travel under the walls between units or up and down in the building using the electrical wires. So the important in a multifamily is more to have a treatment where you can access the units that are a boundary to the one you are treating so that you are able to solve the problem at the same time. It's a little bit like, let's say you lighting up a fire and you're just trying to extinguish the fire by just tapping a part of it, it will just relit right next to it and continue. So you want to really box the whole problem and treat it at the same time. So the challenge is some property manager, they don't have the access to all the units around where the problem is because sometimes they will just manage one of the unit but not the surrounding units. So in that case, we really want them to have that capacity and then to listen to the recommendation given by the pest control company. But again, I'm here to disclose the information at some time. Pest control company will be recommending approach that are better for their own finance than the finance of the investor. For example, they can just say that let's treat the whole building, but that's not necessarily an economical approach. You can focus on be more targeted units. So in the end, it's still going to provide the same result and it's going to save a lot of money to the investor.
Yeah, Chris, when we look at the market size of the industry, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this research. According to statistic research, my friend, the market size of the industry was set at $24.3 billion as of
Mm.
2024, and it's projected to reach a total amount of a value of 4.1 billion dollars by the end of this year, my friend. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on why you think the industry is growing so much, and
Mhm.
what do you think that says about the future of the pest control industry, my friend?
Well, let's just say this. If we compare, for example, solving issues of bed bugs versus solving the COVID-19 pandemic problem, like when people had like the virus, they were reporting it and then they were isolating themselves. And still, we haven't got rid of it. Like it pretty much continues to exist of now. Versus when people have pest problem like bed bugs, they will do exactly the opposite. They won't talk about it because they will be ashamed to say that they have this problem. And the same way, bed bugs and COVID-19, the parallel is like those bugs will be attracted by people, so they will spread the same way. But the people will not talk about it and they won't isolate themselves. And some of like the standard of the industry to treat, for example, for bed bugs, requires to wash and bags your clothes and use the common laundry to treat them. So by doing this, people will carry bugs in the hallway and they will drop bugs from the laundry bags in the hallway. They will go to other units. So pretty much the approach right now that the industry has a standard sometimes is really not in the advantage of the investor, but more in the advantage of the pest control company, right? So I'm here to talk about options that can help to resolve that. But until now, for sure, we're going to see a constant grow, just because of those reasons I just mentioned.
Yeah, and let's dive into those options, my friend. What do you think property owners need to have on their checklist when they're looking to take control and manage a pest problem, my friend? What sort of things do you think people should have on their checklist in terms of options to deal with the problem, my friend?
Mhm. It's a very good question, Kevin. Um, so the approach that I always recommend is to solve a problem of pests, you need to, like, for sure, you need to have prevention, but you also need to have education of the resident, like the tenants itself. I'm talking for a case of multifamily because this is really the challenge is to get rid of the problem in a multifamily. Single house are generally like not too difficult to solve, but for multifamily, the issues is we want to educate the tenant so that they can work on prevention. For example, sometimes it's cleanliness issues. It can be making sure the place and the food storage is kept out of reach of other type of pests they might have. So to do this, we need to have the tenant at home, and most of the time, the treatments using chemical spray requires them to leave the house for 6 hours because they cannot stay in the unit because there's going to be vapor. So the approach we have is we use other type of pesticide that are low toxicity and which allow us to treat at the same time as the tenant can stay home and receive training from us and education. Because the pest control company cannot do the cleanliness, cannot clean the unit for people. They cannot control all the food storage is, and they cannot also repair the building integrity. They can give recommendation and do those, but they can only provide those information. So if the tenant is not part of the equation, you have at least 50 to 75% of the agent of result that is not involved. So the pest control company control only 25% of the actions. So with 25%, you cannot achieve a result, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not only this, but it makes the tenants having to leave and having to prepare, which is really bothersome and will increase the chance there's vacancy that people break their lease. So we have a completely different approach where we make things simple. We involve the tenant, train them, and then we get a better result with this.
Yeah, and Chris, tell me what practical steps do you think homeowners can take to reduce their pest problem, my friend? And how important is the educational piece, as you just mentioned, my friend? So tell me what practical steps can homeowners take to be a partner in this process as well?
So the owner pretty much needs to make sure that the property manager give us the access to the unit we need, and also listen to the recommendation of, let's say, if we recommend to seal the integrity of the building and they do not understand the importance of it, then there's nothing much. that we can do. And sometime there's an education that needs to be done with the property manager is himself and the owner so that they understand why we're doing certain approach. So that's, I will say, step one. And step two is really like choosing the treatment approach that allow us to communicate and educate the tenant.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, tell me, as a property manager or investor, what sort of questions should you ask about pest control problems or the property in general before you invest to sort of reduce your turnover or loss of investment, my friend? So, what questions do you think property managers or investors should ask themselves before investing in a property?
Yeah, that's a very good question. That's very important. So normally when so they can eventually ask the other party if there is an existing pest control problem that they know about. However, sometime even they are honest, they might not know what is really going on in their building because some units can have very high issues and never report it. So the recommendation is we need to inspect, at least take 5 minutes to enter each unit when we do the evaluation of the building. One of the conditions for the purchase of the building should be to have an evaluation with a pest control technician that is able to enter in each unit and do a quick inspection to detect potential problem of bed bugs or cockroach. And those are easy to find because they're going to leave black marks that cannot be washed away in the area of the bed if it's bed bugs, or in the area of the kitchen if it's cockroaches. So that's very important to do this, and that should always be a condition before lifting the condition on the purchase of property that has been done. The same way we need to have like an inspector to look for property structure integrity. The same thing needs to be done for pest control.
Yeah, and Chris, I'm wondering if you went back to tell your 5-year-old self the most important lesson you've learned about yourself in terms of your own growth potential, my friend. I'm wondering what you would tell yourself and what's the greatest lesson you think you've learned as an entrepreneur?
Okay, so if I was to talk to my 5 years old self, I will pretty much tell him that the sky is the limit. It doesn't matter if what you are thinking about does not exist. You don't need to validate your idea on the fact that it does not exist, or the fact that you're just a kid and you're on the impression that you can only accomplish it if you're older. Everything starts from an idea and then analyzes and then a lot of work. And other than that, just persevere. And every time you find something that doesn't work, that means you're one step closer to success.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think is the one lesson you've learned about yourself and your growth as an entrepreneur as your business continues to grow, my friend?
So, what I learned is it's never, uh, if you stop having new potential of development or potential of new vision, then the business will stag and go down. And it happens to me when I started, like I was very motivated, and the business got a peak after 2 years. And then other type of personal issues came, and then I got into a depression. And definitely, if you're not well yourself, and if you stop dreaming and seeing future potential development on your project, then what you have will start to decline. But thanks God, I was able to be able to fix all those issues and come back. But you always have to work on yourself, feeling great, and then it reflects on your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, I'm wondering how you define business intelligence from a practical perspective in terms of the operational side of a business. How do you think we can educate and have smarter entrepreneurs? What are your thoughts there?
So again, like it's not about how smart we are or how much great idea we have. In the end, it's all about doing massive actions and to just not be scared to just do it. It's often just better to try things and fail than to wait for the best like opportunity and just do too much planning. Planning is important, but it needs to come with like planning should be you do your plan in the morning and then you start uh, doing action to do those things right away in the day, and you don't need to wait to have everything's perfect. Just go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, I know that you live in Edmonton, my friend. So tell me about what's the best part about living in Canada, and how have you adopted the Canadian culture, my friend?
Well, so originally I'm a French Canadian, right? So I'm from Quebec City. Like English is my second language. I think you can all hear my thick accent.
Mm-hmm.
So things are very different, right? I moved from Quebec City to Victoria. I was in the Navy for like Army Navy for 5 years. So I really travel across the Canada. I started a French city and then back to Edmonton. So Canada is great. Like definitely, if you plan to fly, you want to plan ahead because sometimes crossing Canada might take more than 24 hours. There's a lot of delay. But what is great is I think people are friendly. This is affordable. There's a lot of economic upside, and the country itself is beautiful, right? You can see from mountains to maritime, so you have all the type of climate, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Just wish this was a little bit warmer in winter. That's all.
Yeah, that's exactly right, my friend. The only thing I like about winter, my friend, is it's my birthday. In fact, my birthday was this past Wednesday. But other than that, I take the warmth and the heat anytime I can get it. Right?
And where are you based yourself? Where are you located?
Yeah. So, Chris, I live in Windsor, Ontario, my friend, which
Ah,
is
okay, okay. So
yeah,
you're
which is
used to it.
yeah, I'm used to it. Whether I want to or not, living in Canada, we get exposed to all four seasons, whether we want it or not,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. We're made
Yeah,
tough.
that's exactly right. Tell me, Chris, what's your favorite thing to eat when you go back home to Quebec, my friend? Give me
Oh,
an education on French
well,
cuisine, my friend.
so okay. I mean, like for sure, people know Quebec for the traditional poutine and sugar shack and things like this. But actually, it's very more than that. Like if you go, for example, Quebec City, it's very European. So most of the restaurant you will go, you will feel that you are in France, Europe. It's great, great cuisine, and it just bring a little bit the vibe of being in a rope here, like without having like 8 hours away from New York.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, I'm also curious to ask you about forming positive relationships with a tenant as a property investor or a landlord when bed bug problems or pest infestation problems sort of arise, my friend. Tell me about the importance of forming positive relationships and really working as a collaborative unit to address a problem. What are your thoughts on the importance of doing that, my friend?
So defensively, when that situation happened, there's a lot of tension, right? The tenants are upset if they are not the one that brought the issue. If they're one that brought the issue, generally it's going to be the landlord that's going to be upset. So it doesn't start with the best context, right? It's not a happy time. But in the end, both party, like the tenants and the landlords, they need to understand the responsibility. Right? Responsibility of the landlord is to take action and treat, and responsibility of the tenant is to follow the preparation, what is required from the pest control company that will treat to get the better result. But along those lines, there's also like the cooperation of all the tenants around the unit itself, which might not have any issue at all and will not understand why they have to start preparing and move furniture away. So this is another issues that is important to address and where there's a lot of frustration and we try to our approach is very different than other companies. We try to make it very simple for all the units around so they don't have to prepare, they don't have to leave, and we can install device that will help to control and provide education. So it creates a better environment this way than when we constantly ask like 9 units to prepare and redo the same process every 2 weeks for sometimes 6 to 8 weeks. It gets on the nerve of people to have to do that. Even if people start, they want to be compliant. The approach is not easy, and most of the preparation is the responsibility of the tenant, which make it very frustrating, especially if they just move in and they found out that there's a problem. That will be difficult for them to understand that they have to pay for this service and do so much work. So again, the approach we have is to simplify the load of work on the tenant so that it's easier to do. And if it's easier to do, then the relationship between the tenant and the management and investor will just be smoother and go better.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you mentioned that English was your second language, my friend. And I'm curious to ask you about the process of learning English and how you evolved in that respect. And what have you learned about the English culture that surprised you, my friend?
Well, so I started really to practice English more. I was 33, so already was already quite late. The challenge is defensively to have people understand clearly what you are saying. And there's no secret about it. It takes time. I've been already 15 years out west in Canada, so I've been exposed to English for those time, and now I'm thinking in English. However, when you are exposed to it, I'll say that all definitely your accent is not gonna go away. It's not like being exposed to it when I'm a kid. Then
Mm-hmm.
you will get eventually a great and more comprehensive accent. But however, it remains that people like sometimes to hear a little French accent. So I'm like, not too bad. It's not something I'm necessarily ashamed of to keep. So I think it makes me different, makes me who I am. And as long as people can understand what I say, I think that's what really matters.
Yeah, and it helps you diversify the perspective of different people, doesn't it?
Exactly, exactly. I always tell people that I hear that have accent, they say, "Well, just keep your accent. It's beautiful. It makes us who we are, and that's the culture. That's the Canadian culture, right? We have people coming from everywhere, so it's like a way to travel by staying home.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And Chris, I'm curious to ask you about starting a business in Canada and the business culture in Canada, and why you think launching a business in Canada as an entrepreneur is a good idea, my friend.
Well, so a business is a way to build um, financial freedom because it produces a recurring income. The business itself will gain in value without you investing time. There's other vehicle like the same thing as investing in real estate or like income producing asset is the way, right, to produce financial freedom and true wealth. So that this is the way in this case, right? A combination of business and real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, my final question for you today, my friend, has to do with your own personal and professional legacy and how you want your legacy to be defined, my friend.
That's a great question. So I definitely want to leave like the lesson learned I had on like the real obstacle in life is not about how to create a business. It's more about like it's all start with yourself. It's all start about understanding we have to there's one fight, it's with us, it's not against others. And the main thing is really like to stay focused, to accept that like fear is part of the process and that every time we fail we're getting closer, that we need to pretty much update our plans and keep trying, and massive action combined with this will lead you to great result no matter what it is, no matter what, if it's business related, if it's artistic related, it does not matter. It's just anything you put your eyes on, you need to apply the same recipe. So I would like to pass this to a maximum of people, family, friends, um, still looking to meet someone, the right person, so I could potentially start a family and pass this to my kids. But if it's not the case, then I will just pass it to the maximum people through either podcasting, through conference, through foundation. So there's a lot of way to do it, and that's what I hope to be able to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. There are multiple ways to start and continue conversations of impact, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And Chris, finally tell me if people want to get connected with you and your business, what's the most effective way they can do that?
The most effective way is I will leave a link for you to display. It's pretty much a link to my Calendly where they can book a 30 minutes with me if they want to learn our technique to save money on investment, or if they want to learn on opportunity of investment. So they can take a booking with me on this way. They can also contact me by email at chris at wcpc.ca. WCPC is Whiskey Charlie Papa Charlie.ca.
Well, fabulous, Chris. Really admire your journey, both in entrepreneurship and life, my friend. And I want to thank you for sharing a part of your business and life journey with me today. And I want to thank you for engaging in conversation. It's most appreciated.
Thank you very much, Kevin. It was a pleasure.